Let me tell you something strange. If you look at my life about 10 years ago, you probably would have thought, okay, this guy has figured it all out. I had the MBA, I landed a dream job at a big investment bank. I was building the exact life everyone tells you you're supposed to want. You know the one, the life that looks perfect on paper. But there was this quiet voice in my back of my head that just wouldn't keep quiet. It kept whispering, something isn't right. Have you ever had that feeling where everything in your life looks good on the outside, but something inside just feels off? I couldn't explain it. From the outside, everything looked great, but inside it felt like I was acting in a movie about my own life, like I was the main character, but I never actually seen the script. And eventually, I started wondering something uncomfortable. What if I'm not really driving my own life? What if there's some invisible program running in the background quite somewhere, quietly shaping every decision? It's something I've started calling the ghost script. And once you start noticing it, you begin to see it everywhere. So in this video, I just want to explore that idea with you. Because the more I pay attention to it in my own life, the more things start to make sense. For most of us, this feeling doesn't show up as some huge dramatic breakdown. It's usually much quieter than that. For me, it was this hollow feeling on a Sunday night, even after a good weekend. You know that moment when you suddenly remember you have work tomorrow and something inside you just sings. Have you ever felt that? Where there's nothing technically wrong, but you still have that feeling of heaviness. I also started noticing something else. How quickly success stopped feeling like success. Closing a deal, hitting a milestone, getting recognition. The high would last maybe a day, sometimes a week. Then everything would just reset to the same dull feeling again. And the strangest moment, realizing I had actually achieved goals I set 5 years earlier and feeling almost nothing. Or sometimes even feeling trapped. Does that ever happen to you? Where you read something you once wanted so badly and instead of excitement, you just feel tired. From the outside, life looks successful. The friends think we're doing well. Family is very proud. By most external measures, things are working. But internally, there can be this strange feeling, like we're playing a role we've become really good at, without remembering why we wanted the role in the first place. For a long time, I told myself, right, I just need to be grateful. Maybe you've done that too, right? But lately, I've started wondering something else. What if the feeling of wrongness isn't actually the problem? What if it's a signal? What if it's our brain telling us something important? Maybe the life we're living and the person we actually are have started drifting apart. The way I started thinking about this is through something I call the ghost script. And the ghost script is basically the default story of what a good life is supposed to look like. And the strange thing is, it gets installed in us so early in our lives that we don't remember where it came from. It's just this background program made out of shoulds and supposed tos. And when you start looking at it carefully, you realize something surprising. A lot of it wasn't written by us. Parts of it came from our parents. They wanted safety for us. They wanted stability. So they gave us a map that looked like security. Then there's school. School teaches us how to get the right answers, but it rarely teaches us how to ask the right questions about our lives. And then there's culture. Movies, social media, advertising, constantly repeating the same definition of success. A nice apartment, a respectable job, a certain lifestyle, a certain image. And when you hear that story enough times, you can start believing it's your own dream. But here's something I'm starting to suspect. Maybe the ghost script isn't our real operating system. Maybe it's just a third-party software running in the background. And maybe the reason life starts feeling exhausting is because we're trying to run a program that wasn't designed for us. And here's the tricky part. Something I've started calling the success paradox. The more we succeed according to the script, the harder it becomes to question it. Have you ever noticed that? Hmm? Every right step adds more momentum, a promotion, a bigger salary, a strong identity, and suddenly your whole sense of self becomes tied to this role you play. So stepping away from it feels almost impossible. Sometimes I think about this like driving a really nice car, really fast one. Everyone's watching thinking you're doing really great. But what if you're on the wrong highway? Every kilometer marker just takes you away further from actually where you wanted to end up. And the rewards of the script, the money, the praise, the status, they can numb the discomfort just enough to keep you moving, which might be why people stay stuck for years, because the prison is comfortable. And admitting we might have climbed the wrong ladder is terrifying. Even thinking about stepping away from the script brings up another fear, the fear of the blank page. If I'm not this job, this identity, this role, then who the hell am I? Have you ever asked that question to yourself? Because it's uncomfortable. And what if we erase the script altogether and there's nothing underneath? But lately I've been trying to see that blank page a little differently. Maybe it isn't emptiness. Maybe it's just, what do you call it? Space. Maybe it's not knowing who we are yet. And that's the actual point. Maybe we're supposed to discover it gradually, just one step at a time. That feeling of wrongness might not be a void. It might actually be a compass just pointing somewhere we haven't been paying attention to. And this feels familiar to you. If you're sitting there thinking, yeah, that's kind of how I feel, then you're in the right place. You're definitely not alone. You might want to subscribe, because this channel is basically me trying to figure things like this out in real time. And maybe we can figure some of it out together. One thing that's helping me unpack this whole thing is something I call the audits of shoulds. And it's not dramatic, just a notebook and a pen. I started writing down the things in my life that start with the word should. I should want this promotion. I should aim for this type of success. I should be happy with the life I have. Then I ask one simple question. Who wrote this rule? Was it my boss? Was it my teacher? Was it a parent? Who the hell was it? Or was it just culture? When you actually look at it this way, a lot of these shoulds suddenly feel less like truth and more like borrowed expectations. And crossing out even a few of them can feel strangely freeing. I'm definitely still figuring this part out. But one thing that seems to help is what I think of as small acts of rebellion, tiny actions that go against the old script. Nothing dramatic, just experiments. Maybe saying no to something we normally say yes to. Maybe exploring something that has nothing to do with our career. Maybe spending time on something that doesn't look productive. These little actions build something important. It builds self-trust. They remind us that it might actually be safe to step outside the script. And maybe change doesn't happen through one big decision. Maybe it happens through a series of tiny sparks. For a long time, I thought the goal was to do everything right. Follow the map, hit the milestones. The more I think about it, the more I suspect right might not be the destination. Maybe it's the direction. A feeling of alignment between who we are and the choices we're making. That feeling of wrongness we talked about, right? Maybe it isn't the problem. Maybe it's a compass, just trying to get our attention. So I'm curious, what's one should in your life that you've been questioning lately? Write it in the comments. Reading other people's answers has been one of those things reminding me that none of us are really doing this and figuring this out. alone. I'll chat to you in the next one.